More than 60 years ago, a man named Peter Wenders was visited by a stranger on a dark and stormy night. The stranger introduced himself as Harris Burdick and left behind 14 fascinating drawings with equally, if not more, fascinating captions, promising to return the next day with more illustrations and the stories to match. Mr. Wenders never saw him again, and for years readers have pored over Mr. Burdick's oeuvre, a phrase that here means looked at the drawings, read the captions, and tried to think what the stories might be like. The result has been an enormous collection of stories produced by readers all over the globe, imagining worlds of which Mr. Burdick gave us only a glimpse.
Here we introduce one sliver of one world of Mr. Burdick's multiverse and beg you, the listener, be you, student or teacher, to try and create your own world from one of Mr. Burdick's incredible 14 illustrations. Here is an example of what Harris Burdick left us with, a title, a caption, and an illustration. Teachers, pause the video here to allow your students to create a quick 3 to 4 sentence summary of what story they think is behind this illustration. Are you ready to compare your ideas to ours? Watch and listen closely.
As the Daguian soldier, Jardisian piloted his outconk through the open window of the young Earth child's dwelling, he thought back across the long journey that had brought him there. The journey began eons before his own birth, a billion years prior, as the Daguian race ended their interspecies wars and harnessed dark matter technology to leave their own solar system.
They barely got to the edge of their own galaxy before being attacked. The first waves decimated the Daguian space exploration teams. The survivors of those first attacks fled back into Daguian military-controlled space from the terrible enemies. The ship showed up quickly, and before even first contact could be attempted, began launching missiles at the Daguian ships, crushing them to dust and ending the lives of millions of colonists and explorers.
Just as the war seemed lost, as the Daguians were preparing to retreat to back within their own solar system and prepare for a final defense against certainly overwhelming assault, Salvation, a third race, yet unknown, entered their solar system from the opposite direction of the attack and introduced themselves as the Sidari. The Sidari appeared in a massive armada of ships, utilizing technology that Daguians had never even conceived of.
The Sidari temporarily drove back the attackers, whom they called the Hexals. Sidari leaders then sat with the Daguian leaders and spoke of a war that had lasted since the earliest days of the universe, some 13 billion years ago. The Hexals had no desire to communicate with any other race besides their own, and when the Sidari had first encountered them, had resisted any effort at peace, at separation, at divisions of space. They simply wanted to destroy every other being in the universe and power their own never-ending expansion.
As the universe expanded, so did the war and the technology of each race. As the technology grew, so did the need to control it. Interfaces between Sidari brains and Sidari technology were limited because of a certain level of group consciousness and telepathy that existed within the race. When the Sidari met the Daguians, they were hopeful that the Daguian brain might interface more properly with the newest weapons they had created to defeat the Hexal threat. They shared their technologies and armies and resources. Unfortunately, the Daguians were even more limited than the Sidari and could not make the advanced technology work.
Back in the boys' room, Jardisian's consciousness floated above the boy's bed as a small, bright ball of light. The Ansible allowed for this instantaneous communication and transportation across light years.
Jardisian was in the boys' room because the Sidari had heard reports from their farthest reaching scouts of another planet that called itself Earth. This planet possessed a species that was leapfrogging billions of years of technology ahead of where it should be. Their technological prowess and coordination might be advanced enough to interface with the Sidari tech, but their race might not have evolved group consciousness yet. The Sidari scouts reported back that a small number of the younger members of the species were suitable for Sidari technology. Of that smaller number, one stood out in particular. Archie Smith, aged 10 Earth years, had advanced understandings of Earth-dweller technology through a much higher than average IQ and his participation in an advanced technology and engineering program in his elementary school, one that had taught him programming languages, robotics, and brain technology interface. For some reason that the Sidari could not yet fathom, the smartest and most capable Earth-dweller was also one of the youngest on the planet. The Sidari, really the universe, needed this boy. In the boys' room again, Jardishian sighed internally. While Earth-dweller technology still lagged far behind Sidari technology, this boy, this Archie Smith, had already been determined a 100% match to the Sidari interface of their new weapon. This new weapon would push back the Hexel once and for all into their own segment of space, and maybe destroy the Hexel for good. In doing so, Archie Smith would save his own Earth-dweller race and at least 22 others discovered by the Sidari since the beginning. This Earth-dweller, this Archie Smith, this boy wonder. Voices came through the glowing ball of the Ansible, smaller in volume, and one did so now. In Jardishian's outconk, a tiny voice asked, "Is he the one?" Jardishian sighed again, and hoped upon hope that this boy would agree to save the entirety of the universe, all of creation, all that had ever been. Yes, he's the one.
We hope you liked our take on Archie Smith, Boy Wonder. Was yours quite different? Good! That's the idea. Please be sure to check out the rest of the book for some famous author stories, but look at the illustrations and try to write some of your own first.